Well, welcome to another episode of the Financially Free Journey podcast. And I'm your host, Courtney Dyer. And today I have brought on a very special guest, Johnefinance, which is, guys, I'm feeling starstruck because as a lot of you know, I have developed a very healthy passion, or some might say addiction, to TikTok. But John is a huge TikToker. He has nearly 1 million followers on TikTok, and he really focuses on educating millennials and Gen Z on things that are seemingly complex when it comes to personal finance. And he's also huge into house hacking, which I know you're currently doing now in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I'm house hacking in Cincinnati. I'm posting on TikTok. I'm just really enjoying the journey right now. So I appreciate you having me on this podcast. I love talking about, just my journey and all the finance stuff that we can talk about. So.
Absolutely. Well, you're enjoying the journey and the journey is enjoying you. How about that? Let's just put it that way.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'm so glad that we got this scheduled pretty quickly too. I know that we had just started talking, I think like last week. And so I'm really proud of myself because with other guests, it took me like a year to get things scheduled. So we're getting better. So guys, I wanted to ask John some questions because he is so versed with personal finance, and house hacking specifically is a huge question that comes up. I get hundreds of questions and DMs on Instagram and through my email from the podcast and from our listeners. And a lot of them have questions about things that you're an expert in. And so I thought you would be a fantastic guest to bring on. But first, I wanted to just ask you to tell the listeners just a little bit about your background when it comes to personal finance and how you developed this passion or addiction to teaching others about finance.
Yeah, addiction seems to describe it right, just because this is what I do every single day, 24/7. I'm always thinking about personal finance, and we can talk about how I come up with content as well. But how I got started into this space was I was actually a finance major in college. So I kind of got into the route because I always thought I was like an entrepreneur or I wanted to start some type of business. So I ended up getting into finance in college. And what really struck me is that I graduated with a degree in finance and I never took a personal finance class in college.
Isn't that insane?
That's
it's insane.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You know all about EBITDA, but you don't know anything about personal finance.
Yes. I took the corporate finance and accounting and financial forecasting, all that technical stuff, but I never learned how to set up investments or a Roth IRA, anything like that. So that's when I started. I was like, okay, there's a gap in the education system here. Obviously, this is important stuff to know, but no one's being taught it. Finance majors aren't being taught it. That means no one else is being taught this either. So that's when I started really learning about personal finance myself, podcasts, books. I started just consuming so much information. And instead of looking at the schools and being like, hey, the education system is messed up, I just took it upon myself and started educating my friends and family about personal finance. And I thought, why not just post it on social media to teach as many people as I can. And surprisingly, I never expected, but yeah, I'm at just under 1 million followers on TikTok. So there's obviously a thirst for that knowledge as well. So.
Absolutely. I think there can't be enough content out there because the more people that are talking about it and shedding light on really the lack of financial education, and all my listeners know I talk about this a lot, but our education system is broken. And I know when I graduated high school and even college, also being a finance major myself, I had to take it upon myself to self-educate. And as you did, consume, books and podcasts and different ways to be able to learn about, personal finance that they didn't teach us in school. So, okay, tell us how you come up with your content because you have amazing videos. I caught myself one night, it was 2:30 in the morning and I have my headphones on and I'm just sitting there laughing. And then I realized I'm laughing and entertained by a finance video. I mean, that is a first, right?
Yeah.
Tell us how you come up with your content.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I started posting videos in December of 2019. So I've been doing this for over a year now. And my first videos were just describing, okay, the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, or a 401k, Roth, just very boring stuff. People don't resonate with that really. So that's after my posts weren't really taking off, I realized I needed to be entertaining as well as educational. People come onto TikTok to be entertained. So that's when I started started doing like little skits or little like back and forth conversations like that to try and get it more engaging for the audience and more entertaining, because when you're entertained, I feel like you learn better anyway. So
Absolutely.
but when it comes to content, I mean, I just get like nowadays I get, hundreds of DMs or messages saying like, hey, like I just bought a car. Like, is this interest rate good? And so I'll kind of like get ideas from that. So a lot of the content just comes to me, just because I'm a finance content creator anyway. But I'll get inspiration from other finance creators. Like my whole world is personal finance. So it's not that hard to, come up with an idea and kind of put it to paper. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and really taking inspiration from your followers and from like our listeners, for example. And I know you have a podcast as well. And so you probably get a lot of your topics in regards to what you guys are going to talk about from people writing in like, hey, can you talk about, index funds, for example, or GameStop? What is everybody freaking talking about with hedge funds? So you really know what people want to hear. And so I just wanted to touch on that at first, because I know a lot of our listeners too, it would be great for them to go and check you out, because again, it's like bite-sized information and videos that are entertaining. And guys, trust me, it is entertaining, and we're talking about money. So one of the things I really wanted to ask you is, when you started your TikTok profile and your platform, what was your initial thought of what you wanted to use it for? Like, what was your goal, and where do you see that going in the future?
Yeah, well, the whole reason I started it was because I was teaching my friends and family about personal finance and all that, but I really wanted to teach as many people as I could. And I'm sure you feel the same way, that teaching these people like personal finance, it's fulfilling because you're actually helping their lives. And so that's just gives you even more motivation to keep on posting content and all that. So, but I wanted to start like a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that. And, I tried the YouTube channel, but obviously it takes a ton of work if you're doing everything yourself. Blogs, like I just wasn't into the writing space. So I saw TikTok. I was like, okay, this is a, up and coming platform. I think I could start posting some content on there. And at the time I was like one of maybe 3 or 4 personal finance TikTokers on there. Now there's like hundreds probably, but I really saw that there was like this opportunity to start growing a platform on TikTok through financial education. And so that's I wanted to reach a larger audience as well. So that was like kind of the perfect right time, right place, where I just started posting basically every single day. I was posting some type of content on there. But
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
A lot of work to think of something. I mean, you're doing a whole production sometimes, and you want it to be entertaining, but you also want it to be informational. And so I commend you, because it's definitely not easy to post something every single day or multiple times a day. So, okay, this is a question that I have for you, because I know that you have a lot of people reach out to you, a lot of millennials and Gen Z specifically, because of your platform is so popular with those generations. So what's the most common financial misconception that you come across? And can you share those with us, and maybe some tips for the listeners?
Yeah, well, obviously there's a lot of bad information out there. I'm sure you know that as well.
Oh yeah,
it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's everywhere. So I think one of the biggest ones that I know is that the day trading, the stock trading, like, hey, you can make $1,000 a day by following my trades and all that. It's really nonsense. It's not how investing works at all. But they get hyped up on the GameStops and the Dogecoin
AMC.
Or whatever. Yeah. It's like, it's just not. And I just don't want Gen Z or millennials to think that that's what investing is, because that's just gambling, speculation, all that. So
because are they learning the technical charts? Are they learning the resistance and support lines? Are they, you're doing essentially sophisticated gambling when you don't know the research and how to set proper stop losses or profit zones. So it is something that I see as a huge fad right now. And I feel like it's become way more popular in the last 6 months, maybe since the pandemic started. Everybody's bored and is like, I need to make money from home. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And obviously Robinhood makes it super easy to trade. And it's all that hype stuff that people are so hung up on.
All that stimulus money, baby. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I also wanted to touch on one more thing, one more misconception, that people think that like, entrepreneurship is this like some sexy, like, oh, I'm going to make 6 figures from my home, working 4 hours a week, like all that. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's like takes so much time. And if you're not dedicated and passionate about the topic, like you're going to burn out. So people was like, oh, you could make 6 figures wholesaling houses. Well, it'll take 100 hours a week to start doing it. And so people don't really understand how much work goes into entrepreneurship.
Well, there's no scheduled 15-minute breaks. There's no trading your schedule with a coworker to go out with your friends. When you're an entrepreneur, it is your life, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
because you are, and you should do something that you have a passion around. And so that's one thing for people to think about is let's not look at things that are a get rich quick idea or scheme. It has to be something that you have a true passion about because you will live it and breathe it for a long time.
It could take years to build up, Yeah. It's not that get rich quick thing, How long have you been doing the podcast?
So I'm going on 2 years.
That's incredible. Most people don't even make it 2 months. So that's awesome.
That's something I just spoke about with a recent guest is a lot of times we have these ideas and Gen Z and millennials, we are the generation of being innovative and wanting to start businesses because I think it is more of a accepted culturally, right, than maybe previous generations. But only 3.6% of millennials and Gen Z actually are business owners. And the reason why is I personally believe that when things get hard and you didn't do enough research in your market and it's a lot tougher than you thought, people stop. Right. And so a lot of people don't make it past episode 7 when they start a podcast.
That's crazy.
So it's only like 30% of podcasts are active after episode 7 because it's a lot of work, right?
It is. Yeah, exactly.
So it's an interesting concept when you want to own your own business. Absolutely. So cryptocurrency. I saw you post some videos around cryptocurrency and you mentioned Dogecoin. What's your thought around crypto?
I think there is definitely a place for crypto in the future, but as of right now, again, it shouldn't be anything that you're gambling or speculating on. To be completely honest, I keep about 1 to 2% of my portfolio in cryptocurrencies. Again, a very small percentage. So if it goes to 0, I'm not going to be hurting, So, but if it does climb 1,000%, I can benefit from those gains. So I think people are putting too much into crypto. They're just throwing all their money into crypto because they're like, oh my gosh, 3-digit returns. You can just keep on making money like it's nothing. Eventually there will be some type of bubble or pullback or whatever. And again, crypto is something that a lot of people don't understand. And one of my investing theories is you should only be investing in something that you understand. And I know crypto is very complex. So if you're just throwing your entire stimulus check into crypto just because you're hoping it'll go up, it's not a great investing plan, in my opinion.
Well, and typically speaking, with investing in general, when all of your friends and family members are sitting around the dinner table talking about a certain investment, like crypto, for example, that's typically when it's overinflated. That's typically not the best time to get into an investment, right? You want to look for those opportunities where it might not be so popular yet. You want to get in before the inflation happens so you can really capitalize on those gains. So just something for food for thought for our listeners, because I know a lot of people are seeing those crypto scams out there. I know you posted a video about that recently where, a lot of people, you'll get those DMs. It's like, oh, I can help you turn $100 into $10,000. Like follow me. And so it's just something to be leery of, especially if you don't understand it.
Yeah, there are so many out there. People will say, hey, like I'm making $100 a day with this Ethereum, but it's almost like a MLM type thing where you have to sign up 2 people to get their donation or whatever. And there's just, it's very sketchy. Always do your research, obviously. And, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't throw everything into crypto if you're not comfortable with losing it all.
Absolutely. If you don't have an extremely high risk tolerance, then probably not the best idea. Okay. Another thing I wanted to touch on with you, because I get a lot of questions about this, is house hacking. So you live in Cincinnati?
I live in Cincinnati. Yep.
Okay. So tell us about house hacking, your duplex, because this is something that I believe is a really great way to gain financial freedom and to really save on expenses. So talk to us about how you did it, how you're doing it, how's it working out?
Yeah, so I originally got introduced to the term house hacking in a book called Set for Life by Scott Trench. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but yeah, basically house hacking for the audience who doesn't know what house hacking is. It's when you buy a house and then you rent out either extra rooms, or if it's a duplex like mine, I can just rent out one of my units. So I knew I wanted to do this because it can significantly lower your housing expenses, and housing is one of our biggest, if not the biggest expense we have. So it helps me live significantly less, and I get so basically I can just tell you the numbers. I bought my duplex for $252,000 in Cincinnati. I'm living in the top half right now while renting out the bottom half. And so the bottom half is covering almost all of my mortgage, is not completely, but I'm living for like $400 per month right now.
Oh my gosh. You can't even get that with like a shared communal apartment in college with like six roommates.
Right.
$400, John?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so the plan is once I move out of my top half, I can rent out both sides, and that'll be cash flowing however much per month. And then I'll move into, hopefully I'll just rinse and repeat with another house hack, whether it's a duplex or a fourplex. But yeah, I think it's important that people, again, understand how house hacking works. You know, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but the more traditional way is to buy a duplex, live in one side, and rent out the other side, so you can really cut down on your living expenses.
How did you find your duplex deal? Because I know a lot of people can't get into a duplex or a multi-unit because typically you've got a lot of cash buyers coming in and investors, right, wanting to invest in the property. And so sometimes it's hard to compete with these all cash buyers. So did you have that issue, or how did you go about finding your duplex?
Yeah. So the housing market is so crazy right now. It's super hot. Yeah. Like everything's going $20,000 over asking price, cash buyers. People are waiving inspections. Like they're not even getting inspections. They're just buying it like
it's crazy. It's bananas.
Yeah. It's absurd. So hopefully it cools down a little bit, but I don't know if it actually will. But I was actually very lucky. I bought mine in July. So obviously like the pandemic happened in March and April. And so people were still kind of like weary in July. But I was like, you know what, I'm ready to buy, and I'm just gonna pull the trigger. And so I was able to get a duplex that will eventually cash flow. But yeah, that's just how I got kind of lucky, I would say, and I was ready to.
So when do you expect it to cash flow? That's another question that I personally have. When is a good amount of time to be able to expect a return on, a duplex or a multi-unit?
Well, basically, yeah, the goal of this duplex is I'm going to move out of my top half and move into another place. So once I'm renting out the top and the bottom, that'll be cash flowing over my mortgage. So my mortgage is about $1,600, and I'll get, maybe $1,100 or $1,200 for this top unit. So I'll be able to, essentially get $800 per month in cash flow by renting out the top and the bottom.
Well, and then you think about how that compounds into the house that you would move into, or the next unit you would move into.
Exactly,
so it's just a great concept for those of you that are not familiar with house hacking. That is such a great visual, right? Because you take that money, you roll it over to the next place that you buy. And as you said, rinse and repeat. It's a great way to build net worth. A huge real estate, again, is one of the top sources for creating wealth and millionaires.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, a lot of people, when I was buying my house, like in July, people were like, maybe you should wait, just hold off, wait till like you see what happens during the pandemic. But so I bought my house, and as of now, it's like $30,000. It's worth $30,000 more than when I bought it, 6 or 7 months ago. So had I not bought it, I would have lost out on that crazy appreciation that we've had in the housing market. So
there's you're getting the equity and the cash flow.
Yeah. And there's tax benefits. There's the principal pay down. There's so many benefits to house hacking. Again, it does take some work. You kind of have to be a landlord, but I mean, I spend maybe like an hour per week, just doing house hacking stuff, maintenance or whatever, but it's pretty passive in my opinion.
Well, you think about the effort, an hour a week versus what you're getting in return. It seems like a really
Exactly.
good
Yeah.
payoff. So just
Yeah. Mhm.
understanding that before you get into it and what it would entail with the unit that you're looking at buying. And so yours seems pretty low maintenance. So that's a
Yeah,
great.
very. I got very lucky. I must say. Yeah. So it's been it's been great, and I plan to hold this house honestly forever. I'm just gonna hold it, and it's gonna be a long-term rental. And when it's paid off in 30 years, it's just gonna be spitting off cash flow like for the rest of my life. So
It's going to make that money rain,
yes,
right?
exactly.
It's going to rain
Yes.
money in
Yes.
Cincinnati. Okay.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to touch on it for the listeners is what is the top piece of financial advice that you received that really helped spark you and propel you onto your journey with personal finance?
Yeah, so there's so many things to think about when it comes to personal finance. And when I was first learning, um, basically you have to be organized in your finances, and that's someone who honestly my mom was like, hey, you need to like get on top of some things. Like she pulled the mom card, was like, hey, start getting like organized with your finances. And honestly, like 99% of everything was that I learned was self-taught. So I was learning from books and podcasts, but you really do have to be organized. You know, you have to know how much you're spending. You have to know how much you're earning, obviously, and just start understanding where your money is going. Start keeping track of where your money is going. I actually started this past year. I started writing just everything I spent. Just I wrote it down on a piece of paper because that's what makes it real. You know, you could swipe your credit card, but then you don't really see it at all. So yeah, just keeping track of your money and knowing where it's going is one of the most important pieces of it.
Absolutely. Well, our behaviors dictate a lot when it comes to our success with our personal finances. And like you said, swiping a credit card, statistically speaking, we spend 30% more if we swipe a credit card instead of a debit card. So understanding things like that, consuming information to become more knowledgeable so you can be successful is a huge way to really propel yourself into being successful with your money.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's super important. And yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
You're just like, amen, Courtney. I
Exactly.
agree. We're
Yes.
such nerds. Look at us, John. Okay. So what's the last piece of advice or information you want to leave for the listeners today? The most impactful thing, if the one thing you want them to take away from this episode?
Yeah. I mean, I might give two things. I know you said one thing, but the first thing, if you're gonna get involved in any, like really anything, whether it's personal finance, real estate, like investing, you have to start learning the language. And I think that's super important for people to understand that you're not going to know what a Roth IRA is or dividends are or capital gains are. You're not going to know that right away. So you have to start learning the language. And how I did it was, again, education podcasts. When I was driving to work every day, I started like connecting all the dots of what, you know, a taxable account is, or it just think you got to learn the language from it. And over time, you will start understanding all these financial nerdy topics that we talk about. So again, start reading books, start listening to podcasts. You can start learning the language, and then you can start really being confident and taking action, whether it's investing or things like that. And then my number two, just kind of final piece of information is to just, you don't have to try to impress people. I think a lot of the Gen Z and millennials really want to, you know, just impress, like they want to show that they're doing well. So they drive a new car, they get the new iPhone. And so keeping up with the Joneses can really be detrimental for your finances. But yeah, just, you know, own yourself. You don't have to impress anybody. And, you know, being financially free is a lot better than trying to have a nice car, anything like that. So
to impress people that don't care and you honestly don't really like, right? That's the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think living beyond our means and, as you said, keeping up with the Joneses is arguably one of the top, if not the top reason why people are not able to achieve financial freedom or ever retire, because we're so consumed with societal pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to say on top of that, instant gratification. That's what it is. Instant gratification. That is just like, people are like, oh, like, what if I die tomorrow? Why should I invest if I'm going to, like, I could die tomorrow? Well, it's like, you can't think like that. You have to think long-term. Anything worth having will take long-term, you know? So
absolutely. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort, just like anything in life. Anything worth having is going to take a little bit of time
Absolutely.
and effort up front. So I am so thankful that you came on today. Tell the listeners the name of your podcast, by the way.
Yeah. So I have a podcast I do with two other friends. It's been awesome so far. I think we're on episode 12. So we've gotten past episode 7.
You guys are on your way. You've made it past episode 7.
I keep telling them.
What's the name of the show?
Yeah. The name of the show is The Simple Money Guys Podcast. The Simple Money Guys Podcast. You can find me over there.
I love it, guys. It's so conversational and just a very relaxed setting. So, they have great conversations. They bring on guests. You guys were just talking about the Super Bowl on one of the episodes I was just listening to. So really, it's like having a conversation with your friends about money. And so, which is something we usually don't do in person in real life with our friends or family. So you can go be friends with John and his co-hosts on his podcast and consume his content as well. Because the more, the better. The more you listen to, the better off you're going to be. Where else can the listeners find you? What's your TikTok name?
Yeah, so I'm definitely most active on TikTok at Johnefinance. And then you can also direct message me on Instagram. I'm answering all my DMs on Instagram. So I'm trying to build that up as well at Johnefinance. So that's where you can find me. I have a website as well if you guys want to reach out. But Courtney, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation, just talking to you, nerding about money. I'm envious of your podcast going on 2 years now. So that's super cool.
You guys are going to be there soon enough and you're going to be like, we lost our minds. What have we been doing? But you know what, when you have passion about it, it's so worth it, the time and the effort. And when you have people reach out to you that say, because of your podcast or your TikToks, I was able to make this change in my life. And that's what keeps me going. I love it.
It is so fulfilling. Yep.
Thank you so much, John. Maybe we'll do a series. Maybe you'll come on again. So
I'm excited,
guys, go check out his TikTok, his Instagram. It's John E Finance. And of course, if you're not already following me on Instagram, it's at Financially Free Journey. And I post daily tips and motivation to help you on your financially free journey. Until next time.